Sister, I know we must know how to wait for God's time, but I would like you to teach me and teach us, apart from the constant fight to please and be steadfast in God's ways. How can we be strengthened when we see and feel that those promises become distant? Do I displease God when these thoughts take hold of me, feeling that I might lose those promises? This is my question, sister.
The promises of God. I was speaking about how the enemy pursues us with so many difficulties, with poverty, with illnesses, with so many things. When we are living and suffering all these tribulations, all these difficulties or bad days, we turn to our God. We turn to God to speak to us so that God may comfort me, so that God may promise me something. And God makes promises to me and says, press on, do not fear. I have not forsaken you. I am with you. I will help you. We receive that with much joy, with much happiness in our hearts. But we also need to be aware that we must be consistent in the Lord, pray, and believe that God can help us. Because if we doubt, distrust, and every day we grow frustrated, shout, cry, and grow desperate because the tribulation is very intense, the moment of trial or difficulty is very intense, and I am distrusting God, God cannot act in me, I have to pray and trust that God will help me resolve the issue, that He will give me victory. And let us not sit idly by, waiting for the promise, waiting for the promises that God has made to me. The promises, God makes us many different promises. He makes us promises about spiritual life and promises about material things in life. He sometimes speaks to us about travel or buying real estate, owning homes, or about a trip or a car, right? All right, God speaks to us about moving, about relocating to another country. He talks to us about these things, but God also speaks to us about the spiritual things and talks to us about the spiritual gifts that we are going to serve Him, that He will support us, that we will be preaching, that we will be teaching. So let us pay close attention to those promises about spiritual life. Let us long for them with all our hearts, always seeking them by reading, praying, being consistent. As for the other promises, let God fulfill them in His time, and there is no need to grow desperate. Of course, there are difficulties, for example, in families, in marriages, in couples, where there is a lot of difficulty. Whether it is she who is desperate because her husband abandons her, or is going to divorce, or doesn't fulfill his obligations, she becomes frustrated and wants that problem to be solved quickly. Or vice versa, there are also cases where it is the husband who is suffering from abandonment, her unfaithfulness, or deceit. So the person comes, God speaks to them, makes promises, and they want it to be fulfilled by tomorrow, by next week. Therefore, people grow desperate. They get anxious because it doesn't happen immediately, because things are not as they want them to be. In response to that, we must pray and ask God and believe in God and surrender that issue, that problem or difficulty into the Lord's hands. Meanwhile, let us be diligent. Let's do everything within our reach to try to solve things. And for the rest, let God act. But we don't need to be filled with despair, anguish, lose faith, become discouraged, or lose credibility in God, because God does not like this. Let us be consistent and trust that if God says to us, and I will protect your life, then yes, Lord, you will protect my life. And someone says, oh, don't go that way because over there they say when you pass, they will take your life. So I say, all right, I get scared, I grow anxious, I grow desperate, and immediately I go crazy because no, they are going to take my life. When I act that way, I'm doubting God. So what I do instead is, oh, well, I won't go that way again. I'll go another way and trust in God, because God hasn't told me that people will take my life. He is the one who will take my life. It is God and not a person. And He has told me that He will keep me and protect me, so I will believe. In the meantime, while I don't go through that place where they say there's danger, I take another route. I'm prudent and do things another way, but I trust in God. I trust in the promise the Lord has made to me that He will be with me and keep me safe. But when we lack trust, God does not like that. And generally, distrust comes. Faith is lost. There are doubts, there are fears, because the person at the moment of tribulation forgets that they had faith and believed in God. And that is why God tests people. He says he trusts in me. She says she trusts in me, that they have faith and believe. I will give them a test to see if they don't believe in me, if they don't trust in me, if they grow desperate, if they lose their mind. God does not like that. God does. And that is what continuously happens in the daily life of believers, because they do not learn to trust in God, to pray to God, and to leave the problem to God so that he can help them solve it. But instead, the person begins to let themselves be filled with nerves, anxiety, fears, and doubts. And God does not like that. Therefore, if we want God to fulfill his promises in our lives, we must trust, believe, not grow desperate, not doubt, but press on and wait for God's time. In the meantime, let's be diligent in our lives and do our best so that everything goes and works well. If I don't have a job, then I can't let myself starve because I don't have work. And God promised me that I will work in a multinational company, earning a lot of money. And here I am, starving, and the multinational company hasn't called me to work. No, in the meantime, God told me that I will work in a multinational company. But in the meantime, I'm going to do something. I'll clean floors, wash clothes, or iron, or go to the market, or carry groceries, or do many things. I'll do these while I wait for the promise that the multinational company will call me to work. So I am going to do something that I know how to do, but I am going to take action. In the meantime, because I can't die of hunger, I can't let my children starve, I have to do something. So I have to talk to people. Do you need someone? Do you need someone to take care of an elderly person, to take care of a sick person, to take care of children? I am here ready to do it while I wait for the call from the multinational that God promised me. And that's how it is. Then God sees that we are diligent. But if I just sit there waiting for them to call me, and meanwhile the rent and the food and everything starts piling up on me, I'm never going to make progress, because God sees that I am not being diligent. We must be diligent and work in whatever is available. Some people only want to work in an office behind the computers, as they call them here, and they say, no, because I studied, that's the job I'm going to do. And since they never find a job like that, they're left owing money, rent, borrowing money, full of debts. Why not? Because I have to be in the office typing, right? Writing, that's my job, right? And other jobs can be offered to them, performing other roles, gardening. Well, so many things there are. No, 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 that cannot be. I'm here and I owe money to many people, and I ask for money for my living expenses, but until I'm there in the office, I won't. That's how it happens to people, because they become greedy, prideful, because that's pride too, vanity of not working in anything else in the meantime, doing whatever, any job. And here I am waiting for God's promises, right? Do you see that God promised me so many things? A sister told me, God promised me that he is going to bless me and that I will have a lot of money. But for now, well, I'm not doing anything because I'm waiting for God's promise. I owe $15,000 in rent, in house taxes. I owe the administration, which is $8,000. I owe a bunch of people money that they lent me to eat. All right. That totaled up to about $20,000 or $30,000. The debt did. I said to her, but why don't you go work at anything in the meantime? She says, no, 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 because God promised me. It's that God promised me he's going to give me a job and that I'm going to have a lot of money. And that's what I'm waiting for, to have a lot of money. And now she's in debt because she was told, do something in the meantime, or sell or rent that house, do something. But why do you have to live alone in such a big house? So leaving her to her whim, let's see how far it'll go when they take and seize everything. Then surely she will change her mind about the promise she says God told her. So, brothers and sisters, we need to be realistic, be practical, be diligent, act wisely, and apply logic to all things and all situations in our lives. Apply logic to everything. So people shouldn't start crying or feeling sad because they say, God promised me and hasn't fulfilled it. It's not like that. It's because we haven't understood, we haven't comprehended God's word. God's plan, and we become lazy, reliant, as they say over there, or dependent, or living off others with loans and everything because I'm waiting for the promises. No, let us be diligent because God gave us health, hands, legs, a body. He gave us everything so that we can work, so that we can fight. And God, the day He wants to give us material blessings, will give them to us unexpectedly, not while we sit here quietly waiting for that promise. Let us act with diligence, do something, invent something, but we must keep moving forward and continue in the Lord. That is what we must do, and God's promises will come. How many promises of God? Look, even now, after 40 years in my life, promises that God made to me more than 40 years ago have been fulfilled. And even now I've seen promises still being fulfilled, but I never grew desperate. Instead, with much joy and forgetting about all of that, I followed the Lord. I even thought that maybe the Lord had forgotten about it. I had indeed forgotten. And when the Lord surprises me and fulfills them, then I say, look, the Lord had already told me more than 40 years ago that I would live this situation. Thanks to the Lord, He doesn't forget, but we do. All right, let's not set our hearts on material things in life. Let's set our hearts on God, on pleasing God, and God will take care of the rest in each of our lives.